So, can't believe I'm saying this, truly, but this is probably the last therapy video that I have. So, what does that mean? Well, the last time I had therapy was probably last November of 2023. And around that time, I had lost my grandpa on my dad's side, and I think I planned on going to therapy probably in like December or the beginning of the year. But then an aunt on my mom's side passed away. So then I thought, okay, well, maybe I'll go in February, March, okay? Well, then my grandma on my dad's side passed away in April. So I really haven't gone to therapy in quite a few months, which is fine. I've been doing my own work, I would say. I've been praying a lot. I've been seeking scripture, which has kind of been a placeholder for needing to go talk to a therapist. And as much as I love my therapist, I've had her for probably 4 years, maybe a little bit more. There's also a part of me that feels that I don't necessarily need to go anymore, even though I really do appreciate my therapist. Plus, this past May of 2024, I turned 26. So that means that I'm off my parents' insurance, which was some really good insurance, I'm not gonna lie. And I currently don't have any insurance, and that was a kind of a big factor in me pursuing therapy too, just knowing that it would be covered. And with the type of therapy that I was doing, it was fully covered. So it really worked out in my position. But besides all that, even though life at times has been a struggle for me, because I have experienced consistent loss/death for the past 5-ish plus years. And it hasn't just been one person, it's been multiple people, whether that's family, mentors of mine, friends of family, past teachers, things like that. And even though I have this understanding, at least from a Christian point of view, that there is life after death, being in the world and experiencing death it's been a struggle. And I know that I need to keep moving on, and I think sometimes I would just use therapy as that crutch. But since I hadn't gone in so long, I had to find another way to find peace, to cope, and a lot of that was through scripture. And I think it's strengthened me as an individual without needing therapy. Do I think about going to therapy again? I do, mainly because I enjoy my therapist and I think she's a wonderful woman. And I'll be honest, I've even considered just, maybe I will stop therapy and then maybe, I could just talk to my therapist casually. I know that's probably very unprofessional and probably not proper. But there's a part of me that thinks about that. But if I do end up getting insurance again, hopefully soonish, will I go to therapy because I have insurance? I don't know. I really don't know. When I first started going to therapy, it was mainly because I was dealing with a lot of conflict within my parents' home when I had lived with them up until a few years ago. and we would bat heads on certain things, and I just felt like my parents were not always emotionally there for me, and I wanted to understand how I could get through that. They're very supportive of my dreams and my goals, things like that, but if I ever felt like I wanted to talk to them about certain things, it just felt like I was always the one being blamed because of my feelings, yada yada. So that's why I started going to therapy in the first place. And as I continued going to therapy, I realized there were other things that I wanted to work on, just individually, because I've always wanted to grow and change and do better for myself, just become like a better human. And a lot of that sparked after like the first breakup I ever had, and I've only been in 3 relationships total, but that first one was very difficult, and from there I've tried to just grow and change. So I thought, why not ask my therapist along the way with dealing with people, things like that, that I could just work on things for me. Plus I have a generalized anxiety, but I think that has also calmed down a lot. Kind of have another idea as to why, besides therapy, which I may mention later on in another video. But you know, that's been handled pretty well, I would say. My anxiety has definitely decreased, and hopefully it will fully go away eventually. But besides that, you know, sometimes I would just show up to therapy and I felt like I was just kind of talking about, you know, positive things that were happening or just like accomplishments. And it was only when something, you know, terribly awful, in my opinion, like death, would really affect me. Or I just was stressed out at the time when I was still in college, you know, how can I handle this stress? How can I make sure I'm getting these things done, you know? So I think over time too, I've kind of felt like, well, maybe I don't really need to go to therapy as often. And my therapist even offered that I could choose when I come to therapy. But she said that and this is what's kind of funny, she said out of most of the patients that she's had, I've shown like the most growth and potential. And I truly believe it's because I am so willing to grow and change. And when I first signed up, you know, the main process of my therapy was talk psychotherapy. I didn't want to go on any medications or anything like that, just because I knew that if I had somebody to talk to, like, I think that would help me, as long as I learned the processes of like how my brain is trying to tell me to do things and how can I, you know, do what's probably the right way to handle things. But it was nice. I am very grateful for that, and it's not like I'm ever gonna forget, because I won't. But you know, it's something that I think maybe I just needed it for that time, and who knows, maybe in the future I might. But right now I've been feeling so strong with going to scripture and trying to solve things that way, and just being open-minded to look at things differently and react differently. And I'm very happy with that. But for now, this may be the last therapy video. We'll see. But for now, it probably is. And to anybody who is watching, you know, is considering therapy, maybe in therapy, wanting to get out, wanting to stay in, not really sure about what, you know, what therapy can be for you, I would say, like, if you really feel strongly about getting into therapy, then I recommend it. I know not everybody is Christian, but I do suggest and offer up that going to scripture can be very healing, and you can look up certain scriptures that can help you with what you might be dealing with. And you may not find the answer immediately, But if you are seeking it, there's a good chance that the answer will eventually come to you and hopefully put you at peace. But besides that, if you don't want to do it, then don't do it. I think therapy is as good as you make it. You know, if you go in and you just plan on berating the therapist, being very, let's say, unpleasant to be around, then maybe it won't work as well for you. But if you go in with an open mind and you're actually willing to hear what the therapist says, then it could be beneficial. It really just depends on the person. And for the people who are in it and they want to get out, I mean, then just get out. If you don't want to be in therapy anymore, you're not obligated to stay. Unless for some reason you are. Court ordered, things like that. But besides that, you know, it's really like what you want to do in your life, what you want to experience, how you want to grow, if you want to change. I think change can be very beautiful, if you want it, of course. But that's all I really have to say right now. And I have other content coming. I've just been doing a lot of things that will be shared soon. But for now, this is the last therapy video, and I'll see you in the next vid.